I just picked up these two old German made knives and I'm looking for some information as to what these are. I've done a little bit of research into these knives and I've came up with pretty much nothing, so let's have a look at them and hopefully you'll know more than me on what these knives are. To start off with, this one's rather unusual. It's pretty small. I mean, it's really small for the kind of knife it is. Uh, Leather sheath, of course. The condition could be a lot better. Then again, it could be a lot worse. It's still a functioning sheath, which, by the way, I do believe that this is not the original sheath. I mean, look at all that movement in there. I mean, the tip of the blade is only to about there, and it looks like someone's drawn round the blade of a knife on the sheath, and this is not the blade shape on this knife. It's not even close. On the back here, we've got some markings which I can't quite make out. It looks like it says J something, I can't make that out. 135, and it looks like it either says Fletcher or Fischer, but that's probably not that. I mean, this knife is made in Germany. Whether or not it was bought or sold in Germany, that's another question. And then it looks like it says either BF or 6F. So I'm assuming whatever all this is the person who owns it, the original owner's initials, and possibly an address, but I don't really know. Also take note of how tiny that belt loop is. I mean, you're not fitting that onto a standard size belt. In fact, we'll compare that to the other one here. You can see the other one is double the size. Now we'll have a look at the knife here. Now, usually with knives like this, they're a hell of a lot larger, and I mean a hell of a lot larger. So this thing is really quite unusual. One thing that my dad pointed out to me was the screw on the pommel of this knife looks a lot like the type of screw you see on a First World bayonet. Perhaps that's an indication of how old the thing is. I've not a clue. I'm just going to guess that these handles are Bakelite. Of course, as you can see here, it's, obviously a Bowie. A very tiny one of that. Now, if we have a look at the tang stamp, CD, I think that says Schaef, and then also made in Germany underneath. On the flip side, Soligen with an animal's head. It looks like an angry deer, to be honest. I think it'd be reasonable to assume this is a kid's knife, probably a scout's knife. Now, I'd imagine this knife is meant for someone who is under 10 years old. I mean, it looks like it would fit a 5-year-old's hand, to be honest. I mean, look at this thing, it's absolutely tiny. I doubt this is made for a grown man, because, my god, the size of this thing is really light as well. Any information on this knife would be greatly appreciated, because I'm kind of scratching my head as to what this is. The second knife we have here does look kind of familiar. Now, this does look a lot like a knife that you probably do recognise, and I'd jump to the same conclusion seeing that handle. But let's have a look at the sheath first. So we've got a deer here. There's no markings or initials or anything on the other side. Other than that, there's not really that much to say about the sheath, other than I think this is also not the original sheath for this knife. And we'll get into that later. So let's take it out. So there you go, it's got a clip point. Now this is where it gets difficult. What I'm really looking to know is how old these knives are, because I can find some of these knives that are modern made, as in still made today. This looks pretty old though. And the ones that I've came up with Google doesn't have markings like this. I mean, they do have some, but they're sort of, well, they're not ground into it like that. I mean, that's actually ground into the knife opposed to, I don't know, just on the surface. So we see here Linder Messer Soligen, and then if we turn it around here, we could see it says Whitby, Germany. And along the blade here, original Bowie knife, super hollow ground. Nothing on the other side. Now if we have a look at the handle here, this looks a lot like Bakelite, like what you see on the the Second World War British Army clasp knives, and also other scout knives and Hitler Youth knives from the Second World War. Now, is this knife that old? I don't know. I personally doubt it. Now, I was saying that it is similar to another knife, and that knife I've already spoken about on this channel, and that is what at the time I believed to have been a Hitler Youth knife, but many of you have corrected me stating that this isn't actually a Hitler Youth knife, it's a scout knife or a Pathfinder knife. And yeah, I suppose I was wrong on that. Although it basically is just a Hitler Youth knife, it just doesn't have the swastika. It's got the scout symbol instead, which this other one does. So just for comparison, we're going to have a look at this. Now we notice that this one's got a metal scabbard opposed to that leather sheath. Now if we take it out, completely different blade shape. Now all the research I've done on the bottom knife here, for some reason it keeps coming up with the top knife, either with that scout logo or the swastika. So this knife here, knives like this, easy enough to find information on. This one here, not so much. I personally don't think any of these knives are fakes. I mean, the top one is a modern knife, you know, it's still produced today. The bottom one is also still produced today, but this one I have here in my possession with the clip point, I do believe to be a much older knife. Again, the question I really want to know is, how old is this thing? Can someone help me date this thing? Because I really am scratching my head about this. Like I said, I can find ones that are modern made. You can still buy them for about 40 to 50 quid, brand new. Is this as old as I think it is? I'm guessing it's vintage. I would say this definitely is over 25 years, but anyone who knows what they're talking about especially, please let me know what this is. What it is, what it was used for, the price, that sort of thing, and better yet, what's it worth now? I suppose I'll leave it at that. Thank you for watching, and any information will be greatly appreciated. Thanks, and I'll see you later.